Hi, I'm Tony Jackson, and it would not have been possible for me to reverse my type 2 diabetes and drop 120 pounds if I hadn't finally dug out 12 separate pieces of the puzzle. It took me over 200 hours of research to do it, but I'll show you some of the key pieces of the puzzle in this video. It was what I learned from them that opened the door to the whole solution for me. The challenge, though, was that they weren't all in a single place. It took me all those hours to find them and piece them together because I didn't even know to look for the next one until I'd found and understood the previous one. Now, some of these, basically they just involved seeing what was right in front of me but through a different lens. Others, though, were completely stunning. So, pieces of the puzzle part 1. What was not the problem despite the SSRBers? Now, there is a class of people I call the SSRBers, which stands for the smug self-righteous blamers. They're either the never fat people or those who once gained 4 pounds and then lost it, and they're absolutely convinced they now know everything there is to know about weight loss. They believe it's as easy as eat less, move more, because that's what they did to lose their life-changing 4 pounds. You'll also hear them say, it's just a simple matter of calories in minus calories out. So, based on their complete ignorance of how our metabolism works and coming from a point of view of bulletproof self-righteous smugness, they conclude that anyone who is seriously obese or long-time obese is weak, greedy and lazy, has no self-discipline. And they'll preempt your defense with, oh, and don't give me that nonsense about its hormones. Now, from a science perspective, their belief is complete garbage. We, the seriously obese, the long-time fat, we've actually broken our hormonal system, and when we do that, all the rules change. One consequence is that our brain sends you're really hungry messages basically 24 hours a day. Another is that everyone's system acts as if we've got a set body weight. But when we have broken our hormonal system, that set weight seems to get reset higher every time we gain weight. And then, if we reduce calories, our bodies think that they're helping us by defending that set weight. Our bodies do everything in their power to make us regain that weight. They think they're doing the right thing by doing that. They literally slow down our metabolism to protect us from losing weight. That's why the calories in minus calories out argument is just nonsense. Our bodies change the calories out in order to defend against any reduction in the calories in. Our systems actually work to make us tired and cold and miserable when we do the calorie reduction. And they make us not just hungry, but urgently hungry. Even more frustrating, eating doesn't send the "you've eaten enough" message that a healthy system sends. What we still get is the "you are starving" signal. One of the obesity experts summed it up beautifully. He said, when you've broken your system in this way, you can no more choose to not eat than you can choose to not breathe. But you know, you don't have to turn to science to know that the SSRB's view is wrong. Look at the celebrities. These are celebrities with egos the size of a continent. They're extremely vain. They have every incentive to lose weight and keep it off. They've got access to the best doctors, personal trainers, nutritionists, chefs, and they can keep them available 24/7, and they still can't lose weight, or if they do, they can't keep it off. Now, their humiliation is huge. If it's bad for us regular folk, how do they feel being fat in front of millions of viewers who judge them and then shout their comments out over social networks? You know, when all the paparazzi are trying to catch a photo of them bulging out of the clothes, a photo that will then go on the front page of some magazine or website. And again, look at those folks who put themselves through torture on reality shows to lose 100 pounds or more. don't you think they've got a great incentive to keep it off? Of course. Do they keep it off? Can they? No. They almost all gain it back, and they often gain back more than they lost. Are they weak? Heck no. Didn't you watch what they put themselves through in front of millions of TV viewers? Look, to be fair, we seriously fat, long-term obese people, we might actually have been weak in the beginning because we ate too much and we ate the wrong things, even if we didn't know it, even if the authorities told us that it was okay. But at a certain stage, we broke our systems, and from that point on, it is out of our control. The rules change. Eat less, move more just does not work. Okay, that was a long one, but here's Pieces of the Puzzle Part 2. Low-fat, high-carb as a diet is utterly discredited, and I'm going to keep this simple. The diet that doctors, nutritionists, and it seems the whole medical system have been promoting for 50 years has a 98% failure rate, according to obesity specialists. To the surprise of many doctors who are open-minded enough to dig into the topic, in fact, it turns out there is not one shred of good science to suggest that it's good for us. And there is a lot of evidence that the science that seemed to support that diet is actually seriously flawed. In fact, the low-fat, high-carb diet just might be one of the biggest hoaxes ever pulled on the population of the Western world. Doctors who are leading edge today in treating obesity will tell you that the food standards endorsed by the mainstream medical profession for decades now are responsible for millions of deaths. And yes, I am being literal. Millions of deaths worldwide over decades from heart disease, strokes, kidney disease, and much more. As well, of course, as being the cause of millions of serious illnesses. The value, though, of this discovery for me was simply that it freed me up. It validated that it was entirely okay for me to take a direction different from the one they advocated. In fact, research shows it's safer and healthier to not do what they recommend, which is scary. Okay, Pieces of the Puzzle Part 3. High fat protects health, and it does not make you fat. The drive to reduce fat in our diets, in the mistaken belief that eating fat caused health problems, it led to the low-fat, high-carb diet, which has caused so much health damage. So it was actually a big deal to me to discover that high fat did not harm our health. But in fact, there's also clear evidence that high fat is associated with healthier people. It doesn't just not harm, it actually helps. And because fat is very satisfying from a taste perspective and a satiety perspective, this is really important. Okay, these days we're at the stage where a low-carb, high-fat diet is being consistently shown in studies to be the healthiest diet. Unfortunately, though, the medical profession, it fiercely defends the diet that has no solid science behind it, and it fiercely attacks the diet that consistently proves to be healthier. It's weird, and it's sad, but that's true. Okay, Pieces of the Puzzle Part 4. Calorie restriction provably does not work. This is just a variation of the point I made earlier. Our bodies fight like crazy when we adopt calorie restriction. Low calories for people with broken hormonal systems is not a sustainable solution. This is where that 98% failure rate comes in. Okay, Pieces of the Puzzle Part 5. You can get fatter and develop diabetes while on an extreme blood sugar control diet. Now, this is a surprise to many, but more than 20 years ago, remember, I've been obese for 30 plus years. More than 20 years ago, I tried to manage my blood sugar and lose weight by largely eliminating added sugar, bread, cakes, buns, potatoes, rice, pasta, chocolate, candies of any kind from my diet. I even eliminated high glycemic fruit and high glycemic vegetables. I mean, this is extreme stuff, folks. And to be clear by what I mean when I say eliminate, I would go entire years with no bread, no potatoes, no rice, no pasta. None. Some years I might have bread 2 or 3 times. I might have potatoes at Christmas perhaps. And occasionally I might have rice with a sushi meal if someone else was buying. Maybe twice a year, but that's it. Most people don't have the discipline to do that. I did. The result? I got fatter every year for 25 years, and my insulin resistance got worse every year, and my diabetes developed and finally emerged full bore. How can that be? Solving that, answering that question, was one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for me because it gave me a huge part of the solution. And it's really important that we understand that issue, because just think, how many people today are trying to control their blood sugar? Well, I sort of did. I even went to extreme levels, but at the same time, my diabetes continued to develop and eventually came out full blown. Does that sound like a contradiction in terms? In fact, it's not. I explain it in depth in my case study that I talk about another time, but how could I have better A1C numbers than the doctors wanted, while at the same time, the same month, in fact the same 2 weeks, a glucose tolerance test proved I had full-blown type 2 diabetes, and I've got the lab tests to prove that this really was my reality. Okay, pieces of the puzzle part 6. Diabetes guidelines can actually place you in harm's way. Now this stunned me. The first stunner was the numbers we're told to aim for might still place us in danger. They're just too loose. To be safe, we have to do even better than the doctors tell us. And that's a problem when many of us are struggling to even get close to what they're telling us right now. The second stunner was the guidelines for nutrition and treatment set out by the diabetes authorities didn't just help our type 2 diabetes to get worse, they guaranteed it would get worse. Now, pieces of the puzzle part 7. Insulin is the key. In obesity, the emphasis always seems to be on calories, which it shouldn't be, because calories are not the real problem. That's a red herring. In diabetes, the emphasis always seems to be on blood sugar, which it shouldn't be, because the blood sugar is just a symptom of the real problem. Now, sure, the blood sugar is a life-threatening symptom, and getting it into the safe range as fast as you can is crucial. But you don't get it into the safe range long term by focusing on the symptom. You have to focus on the core problem that causes that symptom. If you just treat the symptom, the blood sugar, you allow the core problem to get worse. And in fact, if you treat the symptoms the way the guidelines tell us to, you guarantee that the core problem will get worse. Now, that core problem that I keep referring to is around the topic of insulin, and more specifically, it's insulin resistance. Yet almost no part of any conventional treatment for obesity or diabetes focuses on correcting insulin resistance. And that's because they don't know what to do, and what they do suggest does not work. But that's where I focused all my efforts, 100% of them. That's what my program was designed to attack. It was designed to eliminate the insulin resistance that I'd been building up for more than 30 years. Okay, pieces of the puzzle part 8. Insulin resistance and body set weight. The idea that we have a BSW, or a body set weight, plays a bigger part in some doctors' thinking than others. Some specialists make a big deal about it, others don't. My own experience is that it's a reality. And it seems clear that for very fat people, our body set weight gets reset upwards all the time, and it never resets downwards. If we gain weight and we reach 250 pounds, for example, then trying to get back down to 200 pounds through dieting it's doomed to failure. We all know that. We've all tried hundreds of times. But after we've then crept up to 265 pounds for a while, moving down to even 250 pounds and staying there is equally doomed to failure. Every time we top out at a new highest weight, it seems to become our new set weight. And my personal experience supports the specialists who believe insulin resistance plays a key role in this. Okay. Pieces of the puzzle part 9. Insulin resistance again, but this time let's talk about carbs, but more specifically let's talk about sugar. Insulin, and more specifically insulin resistance, is the core problem underlying obesity and underlying type 2 diabetes. And just to be clear, it's not the obesity that causes the type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance causes both of them. Now, with that in mind, there's something really important to understand about sugar. I know that there's all sorts of negatives about sugar right now, but I have not heard this one talked about very much at all. When you eat carbohydrates, your body produces glucose, and all the cells in your body love glucose. But what most people don't realize is that table sugar contains one molecule of glucose, but also one molecule of something called fructose. And fructose is not welcomed by most cells in the body. So it goes to the one place that it really is welcome. And unfortunately, that's your liver. And the role it plays there in your liver, it's what leads us to developing a fatty liver, and a fatty liver is a key component of insulin resistance. Okay, how big a deal is this? Well, in one experiment, people were overfed with glucose, and it wasn't a serious issue. But when they were overfed with fructose, they developed insulin resistance in just 7 days, 1 week. In a different experiment, it was just 6 days. In another experiment, by the way, just having a fructose-heavy diet without the overfeeding, that created pre-diabetes in just 8 weeks. So think about it. What would a childhood of eating too much sugar, which translates into too much fructose, do to our bodies? No wonder they say this generation, the new generation, is the first one in history that will have a shorter lifespan for health reasons than their parents. Okay, I've just covered 9 of 12 pieces of the puzzle that were the key to me reversing type 2 diabetes and dropping 120 pounds, but this video is getting rather long. So I'm going to cover the others, plus 3 absolute game changers in another video. Maybe it'll take another 1 or 2. But first, look, please do me a favor here. If you like this video, then subscribe to this channel right now. Just click on the bright red subscribe button. I know there's one underneath this video. I'll be publishing a lot of videos in the weeks to come, and you'll be notified first when I do. Also, be aware I provide a lot of information on this page of a website I share with my daughter. It's fuelupshapeup.com/diabetesgone-3BT. 3BT stands for 3 boxes ticked. It's my brand name. Look, you don't have to remember that. It's in the description below this video. If you're serious about improving your diabetes, or even just improving your blood sugar levels, or improving pre-diabetes, by the way, visit that page on our website. Take the time to read more about my story, see some of the proofs, and watch my video, and see if you're interested in my case study. In my case study, I explain exactly how I did what I did, from beginning to end. Now, I want to turn it over to you here. One of the stunners for me when I did my research, and remember, I did over 200 hours of research. One of the stunners was to discover that the diabetes guidelines issued, for example, by the American Diabetes Association are among the biggest obstacles to reversing type 2 diabetes. And that's, doctors are screaming that from the rooftops right now. And in a later video, I will give you a link to a terrific TEDx talk where a doctor walks through this argument. and she's merciless in her opinion of the ADA guidelines, as are most of the leading specialists in reversing type 2, by the way. But first, tell me in a comment, which was the most surprising to you? That the measurements touted as being safe might not be safe, or that the guidelines from the medical authorities are actually guarantees that type 2 diabetes will get worse? I'm curious to know, which of those two is the biggest surprise for you? The measurements or the guidelines? Thanks for your time.